Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Fitzpatrick, and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at NetCom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. And we're very excited to host today's webinar, What's New with CompTIA PenTest PT0 002. Presenting today's topic will be Sheikh. Sheikh's been working as a cybersecurity trainer for the past 12 years. He's experienced in training and preparing clients for various global certifications related to network, security, and cloud. Sheikh is also a Microsoft certified trainer, EC Council certified instructor, and certified cybercrime intervention officer. He holds certifications related to network, security, and cloud, as well as expertise in ethical hacking, penetration testing, disaster recovery, threat analysis, and more. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored towards your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we've been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. NetCom Learning also offers a comprehensive training portfolio for security courses, and you can check out all of our upcoming classes right there up on your screens, including CompTIA, PenTest, etc. And we do offer private training to teams, which is also available, all of which the learning plans can be customized to the specific needs of your audience. You can also access a variety of security marketing assets, such as the free 1-hour training, free on-demand training, and blogs by clicking on the available webinar handout. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. And finally, I'm going to pass it over to Sheikh, who will be presenting today's topic.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. I'm audible?
I hear you loud and clear.
All right, thank you. Let's get started here with PenTest PT0 002. So in this course, if we see the objective of this course, scope, organizational customer requirements, we're going to understand, define the rules of engagement, footprint, and gather intelligence, how we evaluate human and physical vulnerabilities, prepare the vulnerability scan, how we scan logical vulnerabilities, how we analyze scan results, avoid detection and cover track, how we exploit LAN and cloud, how we test wireless networks, how we target mobile devices, how we attack specialized systems, perform web application-based attacks, how we do system hacking, script and software development, leverage the attack, pivot, and penetrate, how we communicate during the pentest process, summarize the report, recommend remediations, and do post-report delivery activities. So this is the objective. Once we attend PT0 002, this will be the course objective. So these are the modules which we have, PT0 002. As we see that there's a lot of demand for this course, I keep traveling to different parts of the world, deliver this training. So I do see a lot of demand here. So the table of content which we have here is with lesson 1, we have scoping, organizational, and customer requirements. So before discussing this, we are going to see the overview of all these modules. We'll see what they ask in exam, and we'll also see more about the labs which we have in this course. So I'm going to take all these modules one by one to see what is the content which we'll have here. So define rules of engagement, footprinting and gathering intelligence, how we check human and physical vulnerabilities, how we do a vulnerability scan, how we scan logical vulnerabilities, how we analyze those scanning results, how we avoid detection and how we cover tracks, how we exploit the LAN and the cloud, how we test wireless networks, how we test mobile devices, how we attack specialized systems, web application based attacks, how we do system hacking. So a little bit knowledge on scripting and software development, leverage the attack, pivot and penetrate. Communication during penetration testing is very important. Summarize the report components, recommend remediation, and perform post-report delivery activities. So a lot of good content which we have in the PT00002. Earlier we had PT00001. Now we have PT00002, where we have a lot of interesting content here, because if you would have, you would be working as a penetration tester, or you want to start your job as a penetration tester, it's going to cover everything what you need to know. So this is about exam. It was launched recently, not that old, because this is the new version which we have. So the old version is already retired, so you need to write exam for the new version. So this will certify the successful candidate has the knowledge and skills which are needed to plan and scope a pen testing engagement, including vulnerability scanning, understand legal and compliance requirements, analyze results, and produce a written report with remediation techniques. So that's about this exam. Maximum there'll be 85 questions, performance based and multiple choice. So similar, if you would have written your any of your other exams like the SY0005 Security Plus or IT Fundamentals or Network Plus, it's going to be similar. So we have performance based questions. So this is what's going to decide whether you want to pass this exam. So these are very important. Rest multiple choice questions are not that hard. So 165 minutes, 75 is the passing score. This is recommended. So basics of networking and security plus, if you have, or the equivalent knowledge, like if you are working in the job profile, or minimum 3 to 4 years of experience which you have, there's no minimum prerequisite, but it is intended to follow CompTIA Security Plus or equivalent experience. So this is recommended. There's no such prerequisite, but this is recommended by CompTIA. So very interesting labs which we have here. We'll start with exploring the lab environment. So these labs will be designed by CompTIA, where you have a very user-friendly environment. So you will see what is NS lookup, dig, and whois tools. They're very nice tools in networking, navigating using open source intelligence, OSINT techniques. If you know ethical hacking, or you know about Security Plus, so you know what's OSINT. So here we'll be understanding, in the lab we'll be doing OSINT. We'll be using social engineering toolkit. It's a Python. It's a kind of a tool which is written in machine learning. So here you'll be understanding how to do the social engineering attack, spear phishing or credential attack. We are going to see OpenVAS, Open Vulnerability Assessment Solution. So as a vulnerability scanner like Nessus, so here we have OpenVAS using web scanners, using Nmap, one of the most important tool when we try to find any vulnerabilities or try to look for IP addresses and ports, how we scan vulnerability systems, how we understand scan output, how we use steganography, enumeration techniques, metasploit. Very nice when you try to attack someone's system. So you need to go in detail about learning a metasploit. So here we'll understand how we do an attack with a metasploit or VSFTP, or AirTag for wireless, or discovering IoT devices with Shodan, one of the nice search engines which we have, or how we do the SQL injection using a SQL map, or we have a lot of queries which we run colon or 1 = 1. So using reverse and bind shells, whether I want to have shell in my system or do I want to have in the target system. So that makes a lot of difference. We're going to see exploit code, programming shells, pen test automation, password attack. So this is very interesting, where we have all these 22 labs to complete in this course. Now let's see what we have. So if I talk about lesson 1, what we have in this lesson, so we're going to understand different controls. Controls are very important. So we have already seen if there's a risk, you need to control that. So we have administrative controls. This is to monitor and adhere to organization policies and procedures which are set up by each organization, or physical controls which are going to restrict, which are going to detect or monitor access to physical systems or physical areas or assets, or technical controls. These are like access control lists, IDS, IPS. So all controls should have or use the principle of least privilege. So that means you need to give as minimum privilege as possible. So risk is dependent on threat and vulnerability. So now we need to control this, right? So threat is something which has a probability. Now vulnerability, these are loopholes, we can control them, so we need to reduce the attack surface. So we're going to see about PCI DSS, HIPAA, GDPR, compliance. We're going to understand some frameworks like OWASP or NIST or OSSTMM, ISAF, PTS or MITRE. So these are some of the interesting frameworks which we have. We'll understand why we need them. So how we maintain professionalism, doing the background check of the team. So you trust someone as a team which is going to come to your organization to do penetration testing, how we do the background check, how we identify and report if there's any criminal activity. If you find as a penetration tester, you're doing penetration testing in someone's network, so how you identify or report if there's any criminal activity, or how you maintain confidentiality. CIA tried, right? So if you see, these are the steps which we have, when it comes to hacking: reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, covering track. So there's our 5 phases of hacking. If we compare that with pen test, so here also we are doing planning, scoping, we do reconnaissance, information gathering, we scan networks using Nmap, we scan for IP addresses, port numbers, we try to gain access using Metasploit, we try to maintain access using backdoors and viruses and worms. We then cover our tracks using a lot of techniques like you can use clear those cookies, cache and everything using CCleaner or any of techniques which you like, to cover your track, to make it sure that you're not getting detected, to clear your logs, to play around with the logs, with the timing and all that. Then analysis and reporting. So this is what we're going to discuss in detail in lesson 1. So I just given an overview here, but we're going to discuss that in detail with lab. Then second module is about rules of engagement. So this is very important. Rules of engagement. When we start penetration testing, we need to follow some rules. So access environment considerations. So what is the project scope? Accessing the network when you do some penetration testing. So how you check web or mobile applications, how you test cloud resources. Now there is something, a scope. Sometimes there'll be a scope creep. So some organization is going to ask you to do more than what is being signed as a contract. So sometimes they can ask you more than that. So for that, you need how to handle that, right? So identify restrictions if there's any country, state or local laws depending on what you are where you are working, in which country, right? Regulating the use of tools, what kind of tools you will have to use. So it's not like, when you work as a hacker, you can use any tool, but when you work as a pen tester, or if you work as an forensic investigator, so tools are very important. You have to use some recognized or standard tools, adhering to the timeline. So you have set up a timeline. You need to see how you reach to your milestones. Select a strategy. Are you going for white box, gray box, or black box? In white box, you're going to be given the whole information. In gray box, you're going to be given a little bit information. In black box, no information. So what kind of penetration testing you have to do? You have to sign an NDA. You're not going to disclose any information, or MSA, that establish a precedents and guidelines for any business document that are executed between two parties. So to protect you from other things. Statement of work, expectations for a specific business. So we're going to understand all these things in detail in rules of engagement. Then footprinting and gathering intelligence. This is very important, whether you are doing ethical hacking, whether you're doing forensic investigation. So footprinting reconnaissance is very important. Discover the target, gathering information, identifying organizational contact, scraping social media. This is how you're going to get sourcing job listing. So you're going to get some job listing. From some job listing, you're going to get some details. So examining DNS information. So you're going to check some information from DNS, gather essential data. You can use public source optimized search results, like archive. There's a playback machine, search for image, and then compile website information. So how you get the information from the target's website using httrack and all those things. Investigating the website. OSINT tools like, you have metagofil, and then you have FOCA, fingerprinting organization with corrected archives. So this is a very nice tool. The Harvester, Reconji, you have Multigo, you have Shudan. These are very important tools which we have. So we're going to understand about these tools. Then lesson 4 is about human and physical vulnerabilities. Exploit the human psyche. We're going to use social engineering. Phishing or farming. This is where you create a fake link using SCT tool, or you're going to use a spam, or you're going to use send someone a spam, a fake mail, or you're going to use wishing, where you can just send some kind of phishing through VoIP, or you can do smishing through SMS. You can do wishing through SMS, or impersonating, pretending that I work for that company. I can impersonate. Exploit the physical security, like you need to go there as a penetration tester. You need to scale some fences here. You need to detect some motion. You need to clone a badge. So these are some of the things which you can do. Or gaining access. So what do you do here? You bypass locks. You do tailgating or piggybacking, where you are behind some employee, and that employee is working for the organization. So you go behind him. The door will be open for some time. So you illegally try to use his access, or piggybacking, or dumpster diving. So this is where you go to someone's dustbin and search for some trash, or looking over someone's shoulder by using this tool. So these are a lot of techniques which we have, right? So these are a lot of techniques which we have here. Then preparing the vulnerability scan. So plan the vulnerability scan. So here we understand what are the vulnerabilities. Exploit the unknown. If there's something which is not known to us, reduce the risk to data, or do some active reconnaissance like banner grabbing, knowing the operating system, or knowing what is the version of the operating system. Mapping the network. So here you will understand about the network by drawing a map, or detect defense. If there's any load balancer, firewall, antivirus, you need to break that. So here you'll be learning these techniques. Or utilize scanning tools like Shodan, Census, Nessus, OpenVAS, Nikto. So we're going to understand everything in detail here. Like, so discover, identify vulnerabilities, create exploit. Or stage 2 is coordinate, report vulnerability, or generate CVE. So stage 3 is how you mitigate that, and then how you manage that, so how you document. So life cycle of a vulnerability. So we're going to understand that in detail here. Scanning logical vulnerabilities. So here we scan identified targets. Define the types of scan, discovering networking hosts, or what kind of scan will be running. Is it a full scan? Is it a stealth scan? Or accessing vulnerable web applications, crawling web applications here, or automatic vulnerability scanning using this protocol. So we'll be understanding everything in detail. How to check the network traffic using Wireshark, using Nessus, using ARP traffic. So we'll be understanding that traffic in detail, and uncover wireless assets like war driving, open access points, or mapping WAP using Weagle. This is other tool which we'll be understanding here in detail. Then in lesson 7, we'll see how we analyze scanning results, discover Nmap and NSE. So timing and performance. So when you use time, like T1, T2, T3, or T5, or how you use a TCP and UDP options, or scripting with Nmap, or enumerate network hosts, detecting interesting hosts, fingerprinting the operating system, or analyze output from scan. How you analyze, how you examine the network traffic, report with Nmap, interface with ZenMap, or exposing vulnerabilities with web server. So everything in detail. This is our ZenMap. So we'll be understanding everything in detail here. Avoid detection and cover track. So evade detection. This is where you fly under the radar. So you're going to protect yourself, or you do spoofing. You pretend to be someone, or you use a decoy where you protect, or you are hiding yourself in a group, or cover your track. So this is where you are covering your track, protecting yourself. Steganography tools, we use StagHide, OpenStago. These are some of the tools. Apart from this, we have some other tools also. Then establish a covert channel. So with remote access, using secure shell, using proxies, so you are trying to use a channel which is not recommended. So you are bypassing some security. So this is our OpenStago. Exploiting the LAN and cloud, enumerating hosts. So here we'll understand how we enumerate websites using some Nmap scripts. Nmap has a lot of scripts, so here we'll understand some scripts. Attack LAN protocols, like we'll understand about MAC of attack, MITM, man in the middle attack, pass the hash. So some attacks which we'll be understanding here in detail, and we'll be doing these attacks. And some tools like we have Metasploit, and it's very nice tool. So we have a graphical version of Metasploit, which is Armtage. So we'll be learning about Armtage also. We'll discover about cloud vulnerabilities, configuring cloud assets here, understand storage vulnerabilities, controlling identity and access management. Then explore cloud-based attacks. So here we'll see, attacking the cloud, harvesting credentials, DOS attacks. So similar to the normal attacks, we can do these attacks on the cloud. So these are some tools which we have. Scott Suite is there, testing with Paco. So in module 10, we'll see about wireless networks, discover wireless networks, securing wireless transmissions, gathering the signals, wireless signals, how we crack the password or the pin, how we do man the middle attack, how we do the evil twin, where we set up a similar Wi-Fi to create an evil twin. So we have a fun Wi-Fi cracker, very nice tool, which we can use here, AirCrackNG, Kismet, Wi-Fi 2. So these are some of the tools which we'll be using in this course, and we'll understand the theory in detail. Targeting mobile devices. So we'll recognize what are the mobile device vulnerabilities, what are the different deployment models. You have, bring your own device, choose your own device. So we'll understand all those models. Then how we control access to these mobile phones, enterprise mobility management. So this is about the software which you have to control those devices and identify vulnerabilities or jailbreaking the device, where we do routing or jailbreaking to get that access. So how to prevent that, how to identify those vulnerabilities, all that, we'll understand that in detail. Then launch attacks on mobile devices. What is spyware, what is trojans, rootkits, viruses, worms. We'll understand that in detail. So how we do social engineering, how we hack a Bluetooth signal. So what are the various tools which we have, like Kali Linux. So we can also do with Parrot OS. But yes, mobile security framework or mobile security testing guide. So this is an example here. So we'll understand this in detail. Attack specialized systems, identifying attacks on IoT, Internet of Things, which we have nowadays. So there's a lot of demand for IoT and there's a lot of growth for IoT. So we'll discover IoT. We'll see what are the vulnerabilities, how we trigger an IoT attack. So what are the other vulnerable systems? Data storage systems, securing control systems. So we'll understand these topics in detail. Virtual machine vulnerabilities. What are the virtual environments? What are the vulnerabilities? What is VM sprawl? When it goes out of your control, when all those VM machines go out of your control, how to prevent that, or how you do the hyperjacking. This is where you take control of hypervisor. So how you protect or prevent that. So we'll be learning all these, how you do the penetration testing, what are the vulnerabilities, what are the different attacks you have, and how you can prevent that. Then you have web application based attacks. OWASP top 10, Open Web Application Security Project. So every year they come up with top 10 attacks. So we'll understand that in detail. Then what is session hijacking attack? So this is where we try to steal sessions or cross-site request forgery, where I am connected to a bank and the attacker is going to send me some fake link where I click on that. So attacker is going to make me do some transactions. So how we escalate the privilege. So how we gain some admin privilege, or how we do the SQL injections, how we travel to directory using directory traversal, / attacks or cross-site scripting. So we'll understand all these attacks in detail. Once we know these attacks, it will be easy for us to protect our network from such attacks. So these tools, Beef browser exploitation framework, WPS scan for WordPress sites, or SQL map following the SQL engine, or Searchploit. This is for searching these vulnerabilities. So these are the topics which we'll discuss in detail. Then we'll do system hacking using PowerShell scripts. So we'll understand here some PowerShell scripts and how we can use them to do some system hacking, how we can use some remote access tools for doing some system hacking like SSH, Telnet, or login for Linux. And this is our Metasploit, MSF Venom, where this is a script where I create a reverse shell, I create an exploit, I send it to the target. Target is going to get connected to me. This is where I can access his machine if that if that person is clicking on this exploit which I'm sharing with him. We'll understand about scripts. It's not needed that you need to know that in detail, but to have a little bit understanding about script and code, because a lot of tools are designed with these scripts, like automating tasks use scripting. So sometimes you may need to automate your tasks, so you can create a basic script using a bash shell, or you can use PowerShell, Python, Ruby, Perl, or JavaScript. So we'll have a little bit introduction on the scripts and some examples. So what are the variables? What is the logic? What is the flow control? What is the operator? For every language, we have seen that we need to understand these basic constructs, or here we'll be understanding that. Here we'll see how we automate penetration testing using scanning port scans. So sometimes you may need to scan some ports. That's where you do some automation. So every time you don't need to create this command again and again, but you can just do some automation, because it is an ongoing process. If you work as a SOC analyst, if you work as a penetration tester, you need to scan some ports regularly. This is where you'll be doing some automation. or requiring acquiring some scripts and tools, because a lot of tools are designed with this scripting. So that's where we will have a little bit understanding.
I do want to pass the presentation over to Mary Feeney, who is our Director of Vendor and Products, and she's going to let you all know about some amazing promotions and webinar-related courses. Okay, Mary, go ahead. You have the screen.
Thanks, Tracy. Again, that was very a lot of information from Sheikh, and but he was able to explain to us what Pentest can do, right, for our organization. But I'd like to direct you to some more information that you can find on our website. Also announce upcoming products or training that may help you as well as your company. So this is the NetCom website, right? And aside from all these brands that we train on, we also are experts in terms of these 9 practice areas. So if we go to security, which Sheikh's discussion is part of, we can see that uh, it's not just the CompTIA courses that we have, but this as well. So I just want to dive into what CompTIA has so we can look at the full landscape in terms of security. So we're looking at pen test, and there is a training catalog here that you can look at later. If you'd like to see the other offerings, we can see here that in terms of the cybersecurity pathway, there's actually 3 certifications that comprises the cybersecurity pathway. And if you are starting your journey, or perhaps you have a team, as always, this core skills training, such as A plus, Network plus, Security plus, is a good foundation for your learners or for yourself. So I just like to, open a few slides so we can have a very concise discussion on this. Let me just share my slide. So as I said earlier, in terms of cybersecurity, pen test, if this is probably a triangle. If you look at pen test, this is what normally the offensive team in your organization must specialize in, because they continuously test the system, your cybersecurity processes, and see if it is enough to ward off any hacking or any penetration. So you probably heard as well, red versus blue. This is what the red team specializes in. Now, as far as the blue team, who is responsible for the um, all the security measures, that is the CYSA, or the cybersecurity analyst, that they have to take. And we'll share this information as well with you. And then overall, the practitioner who's responsible for the establishing security governance, risk, and compliance in your organization. These are the security practitioner, or the CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner, or CAS Plus, that they have to take. So it's not one person manning the team, but there's actually several people in your security team that has to have these skills for you to really have a good a strategy, a security strategy. Now I'd like to also go into a few other information. As I said earlier, we are coming up with another product from one of our partners as well, but these are just statistics that we have right now. You probably read in the news about this, and it's not new, but the problem is the sophistication is becoming more and more hard to avoid, right? The breaches are far more sophisticated, and it involves a lot of phishing, right? And in my next slide, I just wanted to put in here the different regulations in our government, such as HIPAA, for healthcare. Then you have your PCI for banking, your FISMA for the federal government, ISO and GDPR. All of these are created to make sure that we are creating measures to protect the citizenry as well as the customer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, for phishing, um, when phishing was first discussed, it was all about emails, right? uh, you're very enticed to click it, and they're asking for your credentials. It's hard to sometimes see whether it's a true email or not, because as I said, phishing is very identical to the right, if somebody is your bank, for example, sending you this phishing email. But now it has become more sophisticated, that you probably have experienced phishing as well. I do get a lot of voicemails, phone calls, and I got to be smart enough to know if it is phishing, such that you got to call your bank. You got to click on this link. You got to call me back, right? Your contract is outdated, or else we're going to take you out. There's also SMS phishing or smishing. So now what we have prepared is, again, this is just some of the strategy. I'd love to discuss this, but for the lack of time, let me go to the next slide. Now we are adding in our portfolio Easy Counsel's Aware product. Now, this is a combination of a phishing, smishing, and vishing simulation. So, if you have a team or your company, you can actually make sure that you um, train your employees to detect if it is a phishing, smishing, or a vishing attack. There are simulation tools that you'll be getting, reports. Also, there's training involved for your end user. Now, the methodology is, again, there is a simulated attack that you can launch to know if your end users are actually clicking or responding to it, right? You can monitor it, you can analyze and remediate. And lastly, the more important is the learning that they should be getting. So in the next few weeks, we will have all these courses. These are actually e-learning that will be made available to your end users should you decide to take advantage of this subscription, wherein you can do simulate an attack, and at the same time, based on the reports that you'll be gathering, you will be able to provide self-paced training. And these are only some of it. We will continuously work with our partners so that we have up to date training that you can continuously give to your organization. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Tracy. And if you
Thank,
have any question, please, you can always email webinar@netcomlearning.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary, for that invaluable information for everyone that's been attending the webinar today. And as promised, let's get to some of those questions. We do have time for a few. I'm going to throw that out to you, Sheikh. First one is coming from Elaine. Would like to know, what is the minimum knowledge required to understand this course well?
Yep, this is one of the interesting questions which we hear. So what is the minimum knowledge required for this course? I would say if you know basics of networking, that is very important, because while you work as a penetration tester, so you are required to do penetration testing on the network. So yes, I would say basics of networking is fine, and rest of the things like some tools which we will be using here, will just understand that we have a little bit Linux commands, but that's fine. So I would say one of the most important requirements is to have basics of networking, and rest it's going to be, so it's just going to be easy for you to understand this course.
Okay, time for one more question from Priya. Would like to know, how much time do we need to spend to prepare for this exam?
We have exam from EC Council, we have exams from CompTIA, we have exams from Microsoft. So I would say for CompTIA exams, particularly for this pen test exam, so I would say if we have these 20 modules, so maybe 5 days to go through the modules, 5 days to go through the lab, and then 5 days for practice questions and 5 days for revision. So I would say 1 month is enough for you to plan for this exam, because it is not that easy, it is not that difficult. So 1 month is enough to dedicate for this exam, where you'll be able to pass it.
Great. Thank you so much, Sheikh. We want to thank you all for joining us today. And if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.